Now let's see how absorption costing works. Look, so what we've got now, we received some overheads. So these are fixed costs that we cannot, these are costs that we cannot apportion to each and every unit. Well, we need to do some tricks to do that. And to do that, what we need to find that allocation basis. So we need to think, rent. We have rent, and why do we pay rent? Well, we need to allocate the overhead based on floor space, because it is logical that rent is paid based on floor space. So if we want to allocate the total of 19,000 of rent, which was paid during the period, we need to look at floor space and do that. So to allocate that for production department A, what we are going to do, we will take the 19,000 of rent that we paid. We will multiply that by how much floor space production department A takes, and divide that by the total floor space that the organization has. So 3 plus 2 plus 500 plus 5,000. Okay, so what we are going to get is 57,000 divided by 10,500, and that is going to give us the amount that we will put for department A as 5,429. Okay, so that is the allocation of rent for department A. For department B, the same trick, so 19,000 multiplied by 2,000 and divided by, well, we've already calculated that 10 and 500. Let me put the result here. And that is going to give me just 1 second. So it's going to be 3,619. So 3,619. For maintenance, that's going to be 905 even. And for canteen, it's going to be 9048. Okay. That's a huge canteen here. Okay, for some reason it's greater than the department itself. But anyways, doesn't really matter. Now, what we are going to have? We need to allocate equipment depreciation. It seems that the valid basis would be to take the book value of equipment, and it seems that it's 33,000. So we will take the depreciation over 99. We will multiply that by book value of equipment for production department A, and divide that by the total value of equipment for the factory. So this is going to give us the allocation figure of 33,000. Of 30,000. Okay, so it's going to be 30. Then here it's going to be 60. And here it's going to be 3. And here it's going to be 6. And the total is 99,000. Okay, employee welfare. Well, it seems that it is dependent on number of employees. So 220, 30, 250 employees we have. So this basically means that 1,000 was spent on production department A, and I know that because I do 2,500, the total expense multiplied by the number of personnel in department I divided by the total number of people for the organization, and it gives me 1,000. And the same way, we will calculate whatever we receive for production department B. For maintenance, it's going to be 200 and 100 for canteen. So now what we are going to calculate, we are going to calculate the total overhead. So the total overhead is going to be 36,000 and 429 for production department I. For production department B, it's going to be 64,819. For maintenance department, it's going to be 4,105, and for canteen, it's going to be 15,148. Okay, so look, we have allocated the overhead, and we can double check, we can calculate the total and compare it with the total that we have. So I received 120,501, which is almost the same. Okay, so this is our step 1, allocation of all of the overheads. But now look, what we need to do, we need to find the overhead for production department, because in the end, what we want to do, we want to find overheads per unit, and we produce units only in department A and B. So what we are going to do, we are going to reapportion our overheads. We say, so we have two service departments, two supporting departments, maintenance and canteen. And it seems that maintenance worked only for department A and B, and canteen feeds both department A, B, and maintenance. Okay, so how do we calculate that? Well, let's look at canteen. Canteen has overhead of 15,148. So what we are going to do, we are going to take this overhead and spread it between department A, B, and maintenance. And how do we do that? Well, what will be the relevant basis? The relevant basis would be employees. So canteen works to feed how many employees? 240. And it's going to be different from this 250, because in this case, we do not need to include canteens department. So we need to just spread all the canteen cost on the 3 departments. So we will reapportion. So we will have canteen, and we will take away that 15,148 and spread it between the 3. So how would we do that? We will take 15,148. We will multiply that by number of employees in production A department and divide that by number of employees in all of the departments we do the reapportionment for. So all the departments without canteen. And that gives us, so it's going to be 6, 3, 1, and 2. 6, 3, 1, 2. And let's try to do that for the other department. So it's going to be 15,148. The overheads, which were initially apportioned to canteen, multiplied by number of personnel of department B divided by 100 plus 120 plus 20, so without canteen. And that is going to give us, let me see, 7,574. So 7,574. And that's 6,321. Of course, it had to be for department A. Let me just write it here. And okay. And last but not the least, maintenance. The maintenance will get the difference, or we can calculate that in the same way. So it's going to be 1262. So 1262. The total for this line is going to be 0. It has to be 0 when you make the reapportionment. And that is going to be actually step 2 of this apportionment exercise. And then what we need to do, we need to calculate the subtotal. The subtotals are going to be, for canteen, we do not have any overheads anymore because we reallocated them. Now, for maintenance, our overheads are going to be calculated as the previous amount, the total of 4105, and whatever we got from canteen. So it's going to be 5367. And for production B, it's going to be 64819 plus 7574, and it equals to 72393. And let us write what's going to be for production department I. It's going to be 36429 plus 6312, and that's going to give us the total of wait for me, 42741. So 42741. Okay. And do you know what is going to be the total over that? Well, the total of that should actually equal to the same figure that we had. It has to equal 102,501. Well, the same amount. It may differ by like $1-2 because of the roundings, but it has to be basically the same. Okay, and now we say, okay, maintenance is a service supporting department, so we need to reapportion it as well. So we take away what maintenance, what overheads maintenance had. So it's 5, 3. Okay, let me rewrite that. 5, 3, 6, 7 with a minus, and now we reapportion that. And what's going to be the basis? Well, I think that the basis is going to be, well, it can be equipment book value. So the portion will be 1 to 2. So 5, 3, 6, 7 is going to be apportioned as follows. The equipment book value for department I is 10,000, and for department B, the equipment book value is 20. So 10,000 plus 20,000. So it's going to be, let me calculate that. Hold on. 5367. 1789. Okay, so 1789. And for department B, it's going to be twice as much, so it's going to be 3578. And the total is going to be 0. Okay. And what is going to be next? Well, next we are going to calculate the totals. So service and maintenance department have already been reapportioned, and that means that the total of overhead is going to be 0. So this means that we need to calculate the total of overheads for the two departments, and it's going to be 75 971 for department B, and for department A, it's going to be 44 530, and the total of this line is going to be 120 and 501. So the total of overheads is going to stay the same. I just thought that maybe you are puzzled why the equipment book value is smaller than depreciation. Well, it can be if the equipment is reaching the end of its useful life. So we have depreciated, and it's actually almost was written off to zero, or maybe it's just in thousands. Let's say 8,000, so that's we know that everything's okay with it. Okay, well, anyways, it doesn't really matter in this case. Okay, so what we've got overheads for each and every department. And now the last but not the least, what we are going to do, we will calculate overhead per unit. So department A had a total overheads over 44,530. And the units that department produced is 200,000. So we will divide that by 200,000. And that is going to give us the overhead per unit of, let me see, $2.02. So it's going to be $2.02 per unit. And for department B, the total overheads are 72,393, and we produce 300,000 units. So what it's going to be, the overhead per unit for this very department is going to be 0.24. Well, maybe I produce some product it requires little overhead and more of direct costs. Okay, so this is how we make the apportionment of our overheads if we have several departments and we have supporting departments, and how we calculate actual overhead per unit. So that's it, and that's how absorption costing works.